Picture this. You're sitting in a crowded bar. Music thumps in the background. Voices blur into one another, and glasses clink against the wood of the counter. The energy is alive, restless. You're half in the moment, half in your own thoughts when it happens. Her eyes, they cut through the haze and meet yours. Not for long. Just a flash, a half second. So brief you could almost convince yourself it was an accident. But the impact? Immediate. It lands in your chest like a spark hitting dry wood. Your heart gives a tight little jolt. Thoughts fire off in every direction. She saw me. She noticed. Maybe this means something. And just like that, you're restless. Your mind builds a story around that 1 second. A story where attraction has already begun, where the door is cracked open, and all you need to do is step through. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most men misinterpret that flicker of eye contact. They assume it's an invitation when, more often than not, it's a test. A woman's glance is rarely neutral. It can be bait, a small piece of attention thrown into the water to see what bites. And the moment you bite too quickly, smile instantly, walk over immediately, you show your hand, you become predictable. She knows she has you. Women learn early how much power lives in their eyes. Long before words, they use glances to signal, to test, to measure. One look can draw a man across a room, spark his imagination, and make him reveal himself, all while she's risked nothing. That's how subtle this game really is. Why that glance feels like fire. Think about what happens in your body. Her eyes meet yours, and suddenly your pulse picks up. Your breath gets shallow. Your focus narrows. What most men don't realize is that this reaction isn't proof she's interested. It's your own biology firing off. Adrenaline surges. That buzz in your chest feels intoxicating, almost like evidence. You confuse excitement for attraction. But adrenaline isn't evidence. It's just fuel. Fuel that can either burn you or move you forward with control. And women, they're experts at reading how men respond to that surge. They've watched it all their lives. They can tell in an instant if you're grounded or if you crumble the moment their eyes land on you. So what usually happens? She looks. You break first. You smile too wide, raise your brows, maybe even shuffle toward her. In that moment, she knows you're hooked. You gave her more than she gave you. And just like that, the tension evaporates. Here's the paradox. Attraction often dies not because she wasn't interested, but because you exposed yourself before she had to earn it. The harsh reality of glances. Let's get brutally honest. A single glance can mean almost nothing. Sometimes it's deliberate, sure, but sometimes it's habit or pure coincidence. Sometimes she's just scanning the room, and your eyes happen to cross paths. Yet if you treat every look as a green light, you drain yourself. You throw away your attention, your most valuable currency, in exchange for scraps. The shift happens when you stop assuming, when you treat every glance as neutral until she proves otherwise. That's when you take control back. That's when you stop bleeding power. The gym example. Let me paint a clearer picture. You're at the gym, grinding through a set. You look up, and across the room you catch her eyes. She looks, then turns away. Most guys would already feel the pull. They want to walk over, crack a line, do something. But the man with discipline, he doesn't move. He finishes his set. He stays in his frame. A few minutes later, she glances again. This one lasts longer. The pull in your stomach is stronger too. Every nerve screams, "Go now," but you hold steady. By the third time, she adjusts her path. She lingers nearby, maybe even throws out a casual comment. That's a lot of weight. What's your secret? That's not chance. That's escalation. That's her putting in effort. You passed the test because you didn't lunge at the first flicker of attention. You gave her space to prove herself. Now imagine the opposite. Same gym. First glance. Instead of waiting, you smile instantly, wave, maybe even joke about too much eye contact. She laughs politely, nods, and retreats back into her world. You walk away thinking she wasn't interested, when in reality, you killed the tension before it could grow. Attraction is a flame. Blow on it too soon and it sputters out. Why restraint works. The secret isn't charm or perfect lines. It's tension. Attraction thrives on uncertainty. The less predictable you are, the more gravity you create. When you hold back, when you keep your body relaxed, your gaze neutral, your energy steady. She starts to circle. She tests again. Why? Because silence forces her to invest. And with each repetition, her attraction deepens. That's where your real leverage lies. Not in pursuit, but in patience. The 3-glance rule. Here's the tactic you can use right now. The 3-glance rule. First glance? Ignore it. Neutral. Nothing happened. Second glance? Register it. Notice it, but still stay calm. Third glance? That's your green light. That's when you move, not with nervous energy, but with quiet confidence. This rule is a filter. It protects you from chasing illusions. It forces her to show consistency before you give her anything. And more importantly, it keeps your attention valuable instead of cheap. The party test. Let's take it into another scenario. You're at a party. Across the room, she looks at you once, then disappears back into conversation. The weak move? You rush through the crowd, eager to catch her before she gets away. You break the silence too fast. She cools instantly. The strong move? You hold ground. You keep talking to your friends. A few minutes later, she glances again. Still, you don't move. By the third glance, she's restless. Why hasn't he approached? Why isn't he like every other guy? And suddenly, she's the one looking for ways to get closer. Maybe she circles near the snack table. Maybe she lingers by your group, but now she's invested. You didn't get lucky. You created gravity. Curiosity versus attraction. This is where men make the biggest mistake. They don't distinguish between curiosity and attraction. One glance is curiosity. She's scanning. She's bored. She notices you in passing. But attraction? Attraction is sticky. It doesn't vanish after one glance. It repeats. It comes back stronger. The 3-glance rule filters the noise. It separates fleeting curiosity from genuine pull. It forces her to reveal herself before you reveal yourself. The struggle of waiting. Now, let's be honest. Waiting is brutal. When she looks once, maybe twice, your body lights up like a fire alarm. Every nerve screams, don't wait. Move now. If you don't, you'll lose her. But that voice isn't truth. That voice is fear. Fear of missing out. Fear of being overlooked. Fear that if you don't act immediately, you'll never get another chance. The reality? Acting too soon destroys your leverage. Waiting, even when it burns, is what creates gravity. Because women don't chase men who collapse into them. They chase the ones who can hold ground. Think about it this way. When a woman glances at you, she isn't just testing attraction. She's testing discipline. She wants to see if you can hold still in attention, or if you'll collapse into it like everyone else. Because if you can't hold composure during something as small as a glance, what does that say about your ability to stay composed in a real relationship, in conflict or under pressure? Women notice this. Subconsciously, they equate restraint with strength. When you don't break, when you don't scramble for her attention, you send a silent message. I'm not like the rest. I don't need your validation to feel whole. That message carries more weight than any clever opening line you could ever craft. The difference between men who command respect and men who don't. Most men are conditioned to break first. The moment they sense female attention, they rush to fill the silence. A smile here, a nod there, maybe even a stumble across the room. They give away their energy like free samples. And then they wonder why attraction fizzles so quickly. It's not that women don't find them attractive. It's that women don't respect them. Respect isn't earned in what you say. It's earned in what you withhold, in the silences you don't rush to fill, in the moments where your body doesn't betray your nerves, in the patience you show by waiting for her to reveal herself. The men who understand this move differently. They don't jump at every scrap of attention. They know that their attention has value, and they guard it carefully. A real-world test. Here's something you can try the next time you feel that spark from eye contact. Instead of moving immediately, breathe. Slow yourself down. Tell yourself, if she's truly interested, she'll look again. If she doesn't, it was nothing. Either way, I lose nothing. That mindset shift alone transforms you. It takes you from needy to abundant. You're no longer acting out of fear. You're acting from grounded confidence. And women feel this instantly. They see it in the way you carry yourself, in the way you don't twitch at the first signal. That stillness makes you magnetic. Using eye contact as a mirror, here's the deeper layer. Most men treat eye contact like a leash. It pulls them forward. They can't resist. But the men who stand out, they use eye contact as a mirror. Instead of letting it pull them, they reflect it back. They wait to see if she repeats it. They test her instead of being tested. This subtle reversal changes everything. You're no longer trapped in her frame, wondering what her glance means. She's trapped in yours, forced to show persistence before you invest. Example, the coffee shop. Let's ground this in a simple scenario. You're at a cafe with your laptop. A woman nearby glances at you once. Nothing special. You keep working. 10 minutes later, she does it again, this time a little longer. You still don't flinch. By the third time, she's shifting in her seat, maybe moving closer to the counter near your table. That's not coincidence. That's her reacting to your steadiness. You didn't chase. You let her chase the silence. Flip it around. Same cafe. Same first glance. But instead of waiting, you immediately take it as an invitation. You close your laptop, walk over, and start talking. She's polite, maybe even friendly, but the spark isn't there. Why? Because she never had to invest. You took the bait on the first throw. This is the difference between testing and being tested, between conserving energy and bleeding it. The 3-glance rule in action. Let's go back to the 3-glance rule. 1 glance, neutral. Don't assume. 2 glances, curiosity. Still not enough. 3 glances, attraction. That's your confirmation. This rule forces her to prove herself. It teaches you not to pay out your energy on credit. And it ensures that when you finally move, your approach lands with weight. Because by the 3rd glance, the tension is already there. You don't need a clever opener. A simple acknowledgement works. Something as small as, "Hey, I notice you keep looking over. Figured I should say hello." Delivered calmly, that line lands because it's undeniable. You're not guessing at her interest. You're confirming it. Why most men never experience this? The painful truth? Most men never feel this dynamic. They never experience a woman chasing their silence because they're too impatient. They throw themselves forward the first glance, desperate to close the gap before it disappears. And then they complain about women being cold, flaky, or uninterested. But it's not that women don't like them. It's that women don't respect them. They didn't hold the frame long enough to earn it. Respect is born in restraint, in the moments you don't move, in the patience you show when your body screams at you to act. That's what sets you apart from the masses. The street example. You're walking down the street. A woman glances at you as you pass. The average man smiles instantly, signaling friendliness, almost begging for acknowledgement. But what does that smile cost you? Every time you give it away too cheaply, you teach yourself to chase validation. Instead, imagine holding neutral. No smile, no twitch. If she glances again, maybe even turns her head, that's when you allow a small, delayed smile. Slow, controlled. That delayed reaction carries 10 times the weight. It feels earned. It feels like she had to draw it out of you, not like you handed it over for free. The lounge example. Or picture this. You're at a lounge, drink in hand, leaning back. Across the room, she locks eyes with you. Once, twice, again. Most men would leap at the opportunity, marching over her, heart pounding. But the man who understands tension, he waits. He lets the room breathe. He knows her repeated glances are already charging the air between them. He might even be the one to break eye contact first, not from weakness, but from control. He decides when to engage. And when he finally approaches, he carries authority. He doesn't look like another guy chasing attention. He looks like the man she's been trying to draw in all night. Women test for control. Understand this. Women don't only use eye contact to measure attraction. They use it to measure control. They want to know if they can push and pull your emotions with a glance. If you light up every time her eyes land on you, you're signaling she owns you. But if you stay calm, grounded, steady, you're signaling something else. I see you, but you don't shake me. That's what makes you magnetic. Not looks, not pickup lines, not bravado, but the ability to stay unmoved in a silent game. Why silence is magnetic. This is why some men seem to attract women effortlessly, without trying. They're not the ones doing flashy gestures or loud displays. They're the ones who let silence work for them. Every glance becomes a negotiation, and they win by not overpaying. Because here's the truth. The longer you can sit in tension without breaking, the more she invests. And the more she invests, the deeper her attraction grows. The hard questions. So now ask yourself, do you give away your attention too cheaply? Do you let every glance pull you forward like a leash? Or do you force her to earn it? Have you ever felt the power of making a woman chase your eyes instead of you chasing hers? How different would your experiences be if you stopped reacting instantly and started responding with patience? Because this is a dividing line. The men who chase every glance live their lives exhausted, confused, always wondering why women pull away. The men who hold ground, they live with gravity. Women lean toward them instead of away. Let's get brutally honest. The reason eye contact feels so powerful is because it exposes your fears. When her eyes lock with yours, even for half a second, all the insecurities you've buried start to rise. Am I good enough? Did she like what she saw? Did she notice something wrong with me? And without realizing it, you start projecting all of that onto her glance. You interpret it not for what it really is, but for what you hope it means. That's why so many men end up chasing ghosts. They're not chasing her. They're chasing the validation they hope to find in her eyes. But the problem isn't the glance. The problem is how quickly you surrender your frame. Eye contact is neutral until you decide to give it meaning. You can either let it control you, or you can use it to test her. That's the split. That's the difference between the man who gets played and the man who stays in control. The power of testing instead of reacting. You've been conditioned to think women are mysterious, that their signals are impossible to decode. That's only true when you're operating from neediness. Once you shift to testing, the game changes. You're no longer asking, what does her glance mean? You're asking, will she repeat it? Will she escalate? Will she invest beyond the first flicker? That tiny change transforms you from a man chasing signals to a man setting the terms. Suddenly, she's the one proving herself. The cafe scenario revisited. Let's revisit the cafe example one more time, because this one drives it home. You're sitting at a table, laptop open. She glances once. Neutral, you keep working. 10 minutes later, she glances again. Longer this time. You don't move. By the third glance, she's fidgeting. She gets up to order another coffee she doesn't need, just so she can pass by your table. Maybe she even makes a small comment about your screen or your notebook. That's not luck. That's a direct result of your restraint. By not chasing, you force her to invest. And in that investment, she revealed her interest. The trap of acting too soon. Flip the script. Same cafe, same first glance. But this time you jump. You smile immediately, walk over, and start talking. She's polite, sure. She might even chat for a moment, but the spark is gone. Why? Because you ended the game before it started. You proved you could be moved by nothing more than a flicker of attention. She didn't reject you. She tested you, and you failed. This is a trap most men fall into. They mistake a test for a green light. They chase illusions, wasting their energy on women who are never truly interested. The principle of value. Here's the tactical principle to burn into your mind. 1 glance is nothing. 2 glances are curiosity. 3 glances are interest. Until she shows you the third, you give nothing. No smiles, no gestures, no approach. Nothing. This doesn't mean you act cold or arrogant. It means you act disciplined. You teach yourself that your attention is valuable, that it must be earned, not given away on credit. And when you finally do respond after the third glance, it lands with weight because she feels it's been earned. The gaze is a pressure test. Here's another tactic. Use eye contact as a pressure test. Hold her gaze a second longer than comfortable. Not in a creepy way, not in a forced way, just Steady. See what happens. If she breaks eye contact and never looks back, she wasn't invested. If she breaks, then returns again, that's interest. That's her signaling she's willing to step back into the tension. This isn't about intimidation. It's about composure. About showing you're not rattled by silence. That steadiness is magnetic. The cost of misreading signals. Men who can't hold this frame pay a heavy price. They spend their lives chasing women who were never really interested, burning energy on people who had no intention of reciprocating. They mistake adrenaline for attraction. They mistake curiosity for desire. And they walk away drained, rejected, or strung along. But the men who master restraint, they move differently. They're efficient with their energy. They only engage when the evidence is undeniable. They don't get played because they're the ones doing the testing. The street-level shift. The next time you're out in public and you catch that flicker of eye contact, stop and remind yourself, this is neutral until proven otherwise. Instead of chasing, wait. Instead of assuming, test. That simple shift takes you from reactive to proactive, from follower to leader, from being controlled to being in control. The respect layer. Here's something men rarely talk about. Women don't just desire attraction. They desire respect. And respect is always earned first. Women respect a man who doesn't crumble under their gaze. They respect a man who can sit in silence without giving away his attention too soon. Respect creates attraction that lasts. Without respect, attraction dies in a heartbeat. So when you hold ground under her glance, you're not just building intrigue, you're building respect. The hunter versus the hunted. Here's the ultimate dividing line. Most men live their lives as a hunted. Every glance pulls them forward. Every half smile reels them in. They're like fish on a hook, yanked around by every flicker of female attention. But the men who master the subtle game, they become the hunters. They don't bite at the first signal. They wait. They test. They force her to reveal persistence. And in doing so, they flip the dynamic. They're no longer trying to decode women. They're letting women decode them. The role of indifference. This is where indifference becomes your greatest weapon. Not the fake kind, where you pretend not to care but your body language betrays you. The real kind, the kind that comes from knowing you don't need her validation. When she looks and you don't break, when you hold steady, she feels it. She senses that she doesn't own you, that you're not desperate for her attention. That kind of indifference stirs something rare. Respect first, desire second. The big lesson. So here's the brutal reality. The look itself is never the point. The real question is, what does your reaction reveal about you? Do you chase every glance like it's your last chance? Do you give away your energy the second her eyes land on you? Or do you hold your frame, testing her instead of being tested? Do you force her to prove interest with persistence before you invest anything? That's where your power lives, not in pursuit but in patience. Closing challenge. So let me ask you this. How often do you break first? How often do you give away your smile, your attention, your energy before she's earned it? And how much would your life change if you flipped the script? If you made her chase the silence instead? Be honest. Share your stories. Did you ever embarrass yourself by moving too fast? Or did you ever hold back, only to watch her keep looking until her interest became undeniable? Because that's the real difference between men who get dismissed without even realizing it, and men who command respect effortlessly. It's not looks. It's not money. It's not lines. It's discipline. Discipline in the silent game.